It's my pleasure to introduce Hellmut Wolf, also known as the Wolf Man. And he's the director of Wolf Entertainment. And he's an extraordinary artist who spans over 5 decades in 4 continents. And I'd like to introduce him now, Hellmut Wolf.
Hey, Cathy, thank you for having me here.
Now, you've been a very busy person there, Hellmut. And yesterday, I was able to see your interview with the father of Woodstock, Artie Kornfeld. I mean, how exciting is that? Can you explain a little bit about how you met him and how you were able to interview him and all that, those things?
Okay, so we recorded that interview on December 30th. And then afterwards, Adi and his team and I were looking at it, decided how we're going to actually get it out. And we decided to just release it unedited, beginning to very end. And so it came out yesterday.
That's fantastic. I congratulate you on that. Now, I'm just saying, you came to Australia. Were you living in Australia for a while and you had an entertainment company here for a while? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Look, I lived in Australia 24 years. I was actually a real Aussie. Had an Aussie passport. Actually gave up my German passport to become Aussie, which I didn't know you had to, but you had to. Okay. So when I go pick up my Aussie passport, they keep my German one. Then when I came back to Europe, I mean, after 4 years, I thought, I miss Europe. So it took me 5 years to become German again, because I had to repatriate as an Ausländer. I had to go back to Australia to divorce Australia. So it's been a trip.
Now, you originally hail from Koblenz. Is that how you pronounce it, Germany? And you have albums, singles, all self-produced by you, Wolf. And it goes from new age to rock to funk, reggae, trance, and dance. I mean, that covers a lot. Can you just tell us a little bit about your roster?
Well, it's first what you read about was my own music, and I never like to be put in a drawer. So I like all kinds of music. I love classical music, although I can't play because I never practiced. But yes, I played in rock bands and funk bands and reggae bands and trance bands, and so been around the block. And it's a bit like this with Wolf Entertainment. The same. We provide many genres. It's not the genre is not the important thing. It's the quality of the music.
And can I ask you, Hellmut, how you do most of your distribution throughout the world? How do you get the music out there?
Look, it's digital distribution, and I use a company in between Germany and Denmark. They're actually two guys. One is called Dan, the other called Mark, so they call the company Denmark. And they do my digital distribution. Very rarely we also do some physical, bit of CD, bit of starting to get into vinyl, but it's basically digital.
Okay, that's amazing for the time. And I said, where do you see music going in the future?
It's crazy. We have a big change from analog to digital, and now the kids, they can just get a computer and make decent music, You don't need to learn an instrument anymore. Like in the old days, I learned sax and flute and go in the rehearsal room and go with your mates and practice your butt off. And then you get some gigs and you perform them and you grow from there. They don't have to do that anymore nowadays. I think what they have to deal with, though, I think somebody said we have 60,000 releases every day on iTunes and Spotify and stuff. How do you get heard? How do you get your head above the rest of this enormous amount of music that's flooding the market every day? And then it comes back to marketing, and the major labels still own the market because they do all the marketing and they own the radio stations. So it's difficult to get your head above to be heard.
I agree. Well, I mean, to make money out of music now, it's harder and harder. As you said, you're competing against everybody, but it's also the love of the music. I mean, it can't be all the money, because I think there's not much money to be made out there, but people just do it for the love of the music.
It's funny, in my life, I'm mostly next to making music in various forms, either in a band or studio producing. I often had other jobs to keep me going, because to make, and it's terrible when you have to play in a food hall in Manly with a jazz band to make your $80 to pay your electricity bill. This is a terrible feeling. So, but on a funny other level, now towards the end of my life, I'm living off being a musician in various forms, as producer, as a mixing engineer, as a manager, as an owner of a label. I just picked up another job that's being announced in a couple of weeks, or this week, I think, which is a company that do live streaming concerts. Okay, so I'm assisting them to spread their brand. And I'm going to go touring. I'll be tour manager for an American metal band all through Europe in April and May. I can make a living in the moment, I can pay my rent. I can make, I'm not super rich or anything, but I can make an okay living. And that's a good thing. Now, for musicians in general, when I started playing music, I didn't even think about making money. Nobody taught me about it either. It was just really the love for the music. And that is for me still the main drive. Look, I opened the 10 minutes, not 12 years old. If I tell you what I earned over the 12 years, you would probably declare me as a nutcase. I've created something very special. There's a great bunch of musicians together, pulling on similar strings, and we're supporting each other, and we're helping each other to, be heard and get out there and get gigging and get touring and what belongs to it. And I'm really, really happy I did this.
Hellmut, so you had your Wave of Love Festival concerts in 2021. So can you tell me, this was quite an accomplishment, what you actually did?
Yes, it was a crazy year to prepare for that because COVID just was all over the place and we never knew what was going to happen next. The concept is an old idea of mine. 10, 12 years I had it in my mind, which came from when New Year's goes off, the fireworks, and it goes around the planet. And I said, what if we would do a concert as it goes around the planet, the timeline? And so we created an ongoing festival, 23 hours in 23 concerts in 22 countries. And each concert following the one before, thus creating an ongoing streaming concert of 23 hours. And to actually pull that off was quite amazing, especially, as I said, during COVID, because venues are changing, venues are closing, no power. It was crazy, but we did it.
Have you ever done anything in TV or made documentaries with your company?
I have over my life done documentaries and TV stuff. I actually studied film, theater, and television at the University in Cologne. So I've shot a whole bunch of video films for musicians and artists. So yeah, I've always been dabbling into the film and video world.
So anything that you can name as far as the documentaries go, there, Hellmut? Anything that we can stream or look at? Or
Look, the one comes to mind, but I don't think that's before digital. When I was studying film and theater, I was doing a documentary about a German circus called Roncalli Circus. And before I was starting to shoot, I worked there as a worker, painting wagons and, not feeding the animals, that's too dangerous, but just helping them and learning a little bit how to run a circus in winter camp. And then after these 2 weeks, I shot a documentary about how it is to be in winter camp for a circus like Roncalli, because it's not glamorous at all. They're just freezing and training for spring when the tours start again. But I don't think that you will find it anywhere. Look, for the rest, I really have done mostly video clips for concerts, for bands, for songs. Not so many documentaries. I know I've done some, but I can't really remember.
Can I ask you which band has been most successful that you've done a video clip or you've worked with?
Well, one band that you will know very well in Aussie is the Choir Boys.
Yep.
I haven't done a video clip for them, but I played with them for a couple of hours, which was funny because as a sax player, doesn't really go with the old Aussie guitar rock, but for 2 years they took me on the road, and it was exciting because they still have a certain rock star status in Aussie land, as you know, and so experienced all of that with the security and the limousine and all of that stuff, you know. So it was fun.
You must have met a lot of rock stars though here in Australia, being in that business, yeah?
Yeah, I played with Angry Anderson.
Yep.
I did a gig with him at the Carnets in Canberra. We finished a bottle of scotch together during that gig. I remember that. And yeah, there's a guy I played with many years in Australia. It's called Jerome Smith. Brilliant singer, guitarist, bass player. I played with the Keith Richard and also with the Divinals. Recorded an album with the Stones. I played many years with him. He was like my main live gig partner during Australia.
So I'd say what? Working with the Rolling Stones. I mean, that'd be tops, wouldn't it?
Well, for him, yeah, he did, not me. But
Okay.
yeah, he did one album with them, and he played with the Expensive Winos. He toured with Keith Richards and the Divinals, you know, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, Hellmut. Now you started as a roadie, so just to let me know, who were your inspirations? And you must have seen a lot of groups or acts. So
Well, yeah, before I even started playing an instrument, which was at 14, I started to work for a local rock band in Koblenz called Vatican as a roadie. And it was great for me because I could get out in the evening. My mother wouldn't worry too much that I was away late. And it opened for me a whole new world of concerts that I hadn't experienced before. And so I'm carrying the drum set in, and the B3 Hammond organ is very heavy. And I also learned a lot from a guy called Wawa. He was the mixer of the band. He was the main roadie guy. And from him, I learned live mixing. And that was very helpful throughout the rest of my career.
In your experience in music, Hellmut, now, I mean, you've devoted yourself in your life to music. I mean, what is it really that you got out of music that now takes you to another level? Is it because you have your own company now and you have that creative freedom? Is that the main thing?
No, the main thing is the music, mate. It's really the space to be in. I mean, to be in a creative space and either record in the studio or play live with friends and make live. It's just such a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful space to be in. And I tell you what, I often think poor people who are not musicians because they do not have that experience, the elevation. And I think also a lot of musicians, they go heavily into drugs and alcohol because you get such a high when you're making music that when you don't make music and normal life hits you, they don't know how to deal with the difference. So, okay, that's always been my theory about that. But no, it has nothing to do with now having a company and being a bit more successful. Or it's nothing to, it's just really music itself is just the best ever. And the part of the Wave of Love Festival is also through music to bring so much love into the world that we finally stop with the crap, that we finally stop spending money, any money at all, for any country on weapons, instead of that we put all the resources into the people and make sure that everybody has a better life. So that's for me the behind the music, and the music is so universal. Everybody is being touched and they open their hearts. So there's at least a communication possibility. And so that's what I'm kind of about.
That's
wow,
excellent.
you have some big plans for your Wave of Love festivals. Can you explain what you're working on now?
Well, what I like to do the next one, and this, look, when we started to get the first one off the ground, it seemed insurmountable, but we have done it. So now the next vision I have on this is probably also looks insurmountable. So let's see where it gets us. I'd like to do, instead of 22 countries and 23 concerts, I'd like to do 6 concerts as it goes around the planet in football stadiums with major acts and part of Wolf Entertainment Act and part of other labels that we're working with. So have a really nice mixed show, but also have some A-listers in there in order to get the media attention. So that's really what I'm working on behind the scenes a lot, talking to possible investors, talking to artists that are interested to take part of it, in it. And yeah, that next to running the label and the other thing, the other job that just came in, and the tour that's coming up kind of keeps me busy.
Now, Hellmut, I want to ask you, tell everyone now every link that you've got, whether it's Facebook or a website or whatever, about your up and coming events or where they can hear your music.
You can find me on Facebook. It's in our group, Wolf Entertainment. My artist page is hellmutwolf.com. The YouTube page is Wolf Entertainment 1. So on all the different platforms, so you can find us. The website of the label is www.wolfentertainment.com.au, because I started the company in Australia. So yeah, you'll find us. Just Google Hellmut Wolf.
Hellmut Wolf, also known as the Wolfman from Wolfman and Wolf Entertainment. Thank you for being on our show. We so much enjoyed this.
Thank you for having me, both of you. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. And let me wish you a happy new year, Hellmut, and all the success for 2023. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.